right around 1800 then, with the notion of adding more heat transfer surface, adding a flue, what later became tubes to the boiler is where we left off. Another big name in British steam is Trevithick. He was a Cornish mining engineer, and for those of you that are familiar with Cornwall, its big claim to fame was
Coal?
No.
Tin. Luther Pendragon.
Tin.
Yes, Pirates of Penzance. No. Tin and copper, but tin in particular. Wales was famous for coal.
Oh.
And in fact, the two played off from one another. After they made steam engines to pump out the tin mines in Cornwall, they had to get coal over to run the steam engines. And of course, they needed the copper and tin to form useful things for steam engines. So, yeah, tin. There were tin mines in Cornwall back to the Roman eras. And in this era, right in this time frame, the mid 1700s up to 1800, that was kind of the turning point of the Industrial Revolution. And getting water out of mines was a big thing, and this guy was a mining engineer that was very clever with both boiler design and engine design. He's a huge name in the history of steam. He created the first steam locomotive. Made a name for himself in that. But we're not talking about locomotives, we're talking about boilers. But the Cornish style boiler, this is very similar to that Barlow boiler that was from the US, in that it has a big flue going down the middle of it. But there's one significant difference that, I don't know, it's kind of obscure, so I'll just jump right into it. Where's the fire in this?
Into flue.
In the flue. It's not on the outside like that Barlow boiler we're looking at. So this is an internally fired boiler, so that every bit of radiation coming off from that fire, it's going to hit water before it has a chance to escape. It's surrounded by water that you want to heat. So internally fired. So this is the grate where the fire sits in this big, huge flue. The products of combustion flow up this through this flue, and then they make, I think it's a total of 2 different passes along the outside of the boiler before they go up the smokestack. And this is a very big step forward in boiler design, and then there's a kind of a natural evolution that took place to this Lancashire style boiler, which is more or less the same idea, except that it has 2 flues in it rather than 1. Boilers like this were being used in the UK up until 30 years ago or less. This Lancashire style boiler had useful commercial applications for 100 years or more, where you have 2 flues, you build a fire, and in this case, almost always it was a coal fire, on grates in those flues, and the products of combustion flowed up through the flue and around the outside of the boiler and then up the smokestack. Much better heat transfer opportunity here. Materials of construction have had a chance to move along here. Still, wrought iron and cast iron are your predominant materials of construction. Steel was another 20 years in the coming. It was like 1860s before you started to see useful commercial quantities of steel being produced. So Lancashire style boiler, and then they can do enhancements on it. Why would you want to put a whole bunch of additional tubes, what are called Galloway tubes, in there?
Distribution.
Circulation.
Yeah. Circulation, both of you touch on it, both circulation and more heat transfer. You still have a big pot of water, a big cylinder of water here, so the chances for those nice natural convection circulation patterns were not all that great.